Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Mastering Dungeons, your favorite tabletop role-playing game news and podcast and game design and podcast and Teos, Abadia, and Shawn Merwin and podcast. Teos, what you up to?
Podcasting, my favorite show. I'm glad because I have to watch it every week twice. So
It's true. It's true. It's a good thing you like the show, or boy, that would be rough. That would be rough.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend.
I worked a lot. I moved a lot of gravel around for house projects. Friday I played Daggerheart, which continues to be just a really interesting game. I pigeonholed myself, or let's say got myself into trouble by declaring that every form my druid takes requires a different voice. And now I regret that because I think I'm going to have to take notes about what my armadillo voice was, which I should have thought of something else, but that's what came out, and now I have to do it. So
the voice in my head is actually an armadillo voice, so it's funny that you say that.
Yeah.
Well, this weekend I cracked Sun. I'm sure you probably cracked a little Sun as well, and I play tested an upcoming season of D&D Encounters.
Woo.
And in our main segment today, we are going to talk about the current version of D&D Encounters, this first season of the newly reestablished program. And Teos actually has a box from the program that stores get. So he is going to share with everyone some of the cool stuff that comes within that store box. So before we do that, though, we want to get to our listeners. We want to see what they have to say.
In their heads.
Yes, we get to them. Apparently, we got to Repose New via YouTube, who asked this question. International Day of Play Adventures. First off, thank you, Shawn, for writing these and for Wizards for giving them away. Second, I could use some guidance on including the adventure and how it uses the Kobold Lair map from Heroes of the Borderlands. In comparing this and the original encounter that's in the starter set, the changes strongly suggest that it takes place later on. Or is it the intention that this adventure can be swapped for the original? Either way, it is designed for level 1 characters, and the original is designed for level 2. Any thoughts on this? Great question. So first of all, let me say, every project has some design parameters. Sometimes they are very strict. Sometimes they are loose. Sometimes they are just weird. And I'm not going to talk about the parameters for this one particularly, but let me say this. So Borderland Quest Dagger Danger, that is the new International Day of Play adventure that Wizards is giving away that should be running within the next couple of weeks at different game stores. So Dagger Danger is meant to be its own thing. However, if a store or a DM has access to Heroes of the Borderlands box, they can find everything they need to run that adventure in there. That includes the map that uses the Kobold Lair map from Heroes of the Borderlands. It can use monsters, the monster cards. It can use the magic item cards. It can use tokens, etc., etc. So it is not designed to be an extension of those adventures, but it can be run as an extension of those adventures. And yes, you are correct. It would take place after whatever happened originally there. So you can, as the DM, make it an extension if you want. But what the adventure Dagger Danger assumes is that some other party cleared out that Kobold's lair, but they left something valuable there, and they've asked you to go back to it. So if you are planning on running this as some sort of extension, you want different characters doing different things. So the expectation is this other party cleared out the Kobold lair first. Now you are going back. Hence, you can be first level as opposed to the second level, which is what the original lair suggests. I hope that makes sense.
Makes sense to me. Love it.
Cool. And we'll take one more since that was quick from Fox Trick via YouTube. What books have inspired you the most when designing content? For example, how to structure or present a city, how to run an ambush, how to introduce a rivalry. Do you have anything that comes to mind here, Teos, that sort of inspires you?
I do. Book wise, it would be Italo Calvino's Invisible Cities. I've mentioned that before on the show. That is just kind of like usually 1 to a few pages of an imaginary city that would have been described as someone traveled through an alternate sort of Earth, essentially. And it's just fantastic. It's wonderful. It brings to mind ancient explorers and things like that. And it's just so, imaginative what's going on in these cities. And that's sort of kind of is the type of energy I try to bring into projects. So when I create a project, I draw on nebulous ideas. I don't like derivative stuff generally. So it's really more like that sort of just opening my mind up to bizarre ways that I can make a connection, right?
Mm-hmm. I was trying to come up with one thing, and I can't, because literally everything I have read, whether I learned from it through its excellence or through its teachable moments, let's say, everything goes into the stew up here.
The big hopper.
And Ken. So it could be like a newspaper article about an obituary, right? An obituary could be like, this person did this thing. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I could say that this character did this thing. Yeah. All of the various Dungeon Masters guides over the years have had different kinds of advice or, teachable moments about how to do this thing that we do. I would have to say if I had just one book, it's a book called Writing Fiction, A Guide to Narrative Craft by Janet Burroway. And it's sort of a common textbook that people use when they're teaching creative writing. Yeah. And it breaks down very well sort of the steps that you go through when you are writing fiction. And while some of it is more elementary that you would have learned like in middle school as you're writing a short story, and what are characters, what's setting, all of those things. But it does get into sort of deeper and more complex issues that are very helpful anytime you are building a story or a world or a narrative or anything that you are trying to pull from your experiences and brain and put on paper. Yeah. And so that's one book that I constantly go back to just to refresh my memory and get inspiration.
Yeah, I find that things like that are more useful to me as sort of true, like that you go back to the well of it. Because when I think of things like, this question may have envisioned that our answers might be something like, the Kobold Guide to Campaigns or something like that.
Right.
And those are all good. But I think that a lot of those things, and the Dungeon Master's Guides as well, are sort of an application of your ideas to the game. And that's useful. But that, honestly, I've learned mostly either by doing, that has been a bigger influence, and really particularly organized play, right? Reading the adventures of just countless authors, running them at the table multiple times in a weekend to see how they play out with different groups that like different things. That shapes you way more than a cool guide. That's not to take away from guides. I love those kinds of guides, but it's really that experience that shapes it. And so that just lives rent free in my head. But what really I think I draw on are my favorite novels, my favorite movies, things like that teach me how to make that all come together. And then you apply it using those principles that you've learned and so on.
Yeah. When I had to teach this writing for role-playing games class, I thought, okay, what textbook can I use? And I went and I ran the breadth of everything, and nothing worked. Yeah. There were some things that were good in very small bits, but nothing was like, this is perfect. So I'm like, well, we'll just make it up as we go. And the same thing happened when I taught for one semester the world building class. I'm like, it's a world building not just for games, but for fiction, for stories. So I went to the Kobold Press books, and I went to some other sort of anthologies of essays.
Yeah.
And everything was either too general or too very, very specific to D&D. It's like how to build a D&D pantheon. I'm like, that can work if you're in a very specific kind of setting in a very specific game, but this is supposed to be broader, and it didn't quite work. So you collect these ideas from everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of Indiana Jones and all those movies, right? But it's the concept of what happens in those films that makes them amazing experiences, and what you want to pull out of them that I go to all the time. It's the concepts in Alien and how that plays out, right? Why an Alien movie might be, or part of a movie is better than another. Those things I apply all the time, right? When I'm writing, and it's that you can't kind of write that up in a book properly, I think.
Right. Yeah. It always falls flat, and it always, even if it's really well done, fails to connect sometimes on different levels. So yeah, experience wins in the end. Thank you for those great questions, folks. And now let's get into our news and commentary section, starting with the end of the Ravenloft actual play and the next D&D Beyond monthly drop. So if you've been watching the Ravenloft actual play, you will know it has ended. Its final 7th episode happened, and we got to play a long pack that had the big final boss, which was Lord Soth of Sithicus. So what went on here, Teos?
Yeah, so I haven't watched the episodes yet. I think, too behind, just cracking too many suns. But in this scenario, Soth has captured a prisoner you care about in his stronghold, Nedregard Keep. And this adventure for level 6 PCs, you face some helmed horrors at the gatehouse. Spoilers are coming, get ready. But they don't actually attack you. They'll let you pass. And if you attack them, you anger Soth. But Soth will greet you in the throne room and basically say, take me on, and if you can hurt me and defeat me, then I will release the captive you want. If you've watched even part of the show, you can probably guess who the captive is. He also has some other captives, 3 captive banshees from the storyline, Contessa, Consolation, and Confession, who sing to soothe him, and that's all linked to the story that we saw in the actual play. If you free them, they might turn on Soth. And so one of the things you can do is during the battle, try to do that. And then they'll help you with things like Mass Healing World or Stunning Soth, things like that. And you might also have played the previous encounter. And in that case, it says, okay, you actually were protecting, if you succeeded and protected the Banshees, but then already start on your side, which I like the impact, but it's more fun to try to talk them into it. If Soth is reduced to 30 hit points, he surrenders and releases the captive. If you want to see this played, the D20 Play channel has been running through all these, and I saw that they're going to be running this one as well. But it was cool. I thought as an actual play, it is way more produced than I want it to be, Shawn. Like it's kind of too pretty, but it is fun. I enjoyed it. I think other people found it entertaining. It had a certain style that was for the camera that I think maybe if it hadn't been, might have been more useful to new DMs, but I think entertainment value was good. Not bad, for a return to actual plays as it goes.
There you go. So we got that, and we got the new monthly drops that come out at the beginning of every month, apparently. What did we get in this month's drops? We got the new weekly encounter. As before, you can go into map VTT and see the Knight of the Red Dragon, which can be run at either level 7 or 13, both a high challenge. So for 7th level characters, we get a Young Red Dragon, which is CR 10, and a Knight, which is CR 3, and a Priest Acolyte of CR 1/4, and 4 Guards of CR 1/8. For level 13, we get the Adult Red Dragon, which is CR 17, a CR 3 Knight, a CR 2 Priest, and then 4 Warrior Veterans at CR 3.
Yeah, it's interesting. I generally don't see a lot of fights with this wide a disparity in or spread in CRs, and I'm curious kind of how well these run with that spread. I'm not sure. I'm curious.
Yeah, I've been creating encounters and trying to find a good sweet spot for having multiple enemies, but still making it challenging,
Yeah.
without overwhelming, and it's not easy.
I think so. Yeah.
With the way this is set up.
Yeah, in the past, what it means is, your boss can't be that high a CR because you need the others to stand up and deal. And so I've never designed with this sort of spread because I just don't find it works well at my tables. But maybe that's changed in 2024 somewhat. I'd have to run these to really know.
Mm-hmm. And then we also get in the second monthly drop, which is the first Thursday of each month, we get the following. We get 3 spells. We get Searing Orb, a level 2 Paladin Cleric spell, where you throw a pulsing orb of energy at one enemy before engulfing nearby foes in a flash of light. Mm-hmm. We get Tortoiseshell, a level 2 Druid Ranger Artificer spell, where you can bolster your armor class as long as you don't move. So it bolsters your armor class by 3 if you remain still, and by 1 if you move. And then we get Void Star, a level 7 Wizard Warlock spell, where you hurl a fragment of a dark star at an enemy that deals damage, and when you first hit, and some extra damage at the end of its next turn, in the form of 6d12 necrotic damage. Then at the end of their next turn, it's 3d12, and you also heal that much damage.
That's cool.
What are we looking at in terms of magic items?
3 new magic items. The Amulet of Retributive Healing. This is a rare item. The amulet has 3 charges. If you heal someone, you can expend a charge to heal for the same amount of hit points. Eternal Chalk is common, very fun. This chalk never breaks or wears down, writes in any color of your choice, and leaves marks that only you can erase. Ultimate graffiti. Salubrious. Oh yeah, parents, do not give your kids Eternal Chalk. No, Salubrious Armor, rare. This armor gives you a brief bonus to AC whenever you're healed. That was probably my least favorite. For a rare item, it just doesn't, I don't know that armor, the bonus sticks around enough to make it great, but it's fine. And then 5 maps. These seem to be from previous physical map packs that we've seen, and before that in 4E Adventures as well. So you may be familiar with them when you look at them. We got an Encounter Elemental Incursion at level 5 and level 12, featuring Salamanders and Magmen. Level 12 adds 2 more Salamanders plus 3 Fire Elementals. I thought it was fine, but I thought that what they had said is they're going to make the monthly drop encounters sort of meatier, but they may just be getting started and going, because that's what I would really like to see, is sort of more detail. Like, give me what's happening in this scene, give me some tactics, give me some ideas. And particularly actually that knight encounter earlier, the way everything was on the map, I'm like, what's going on here? Is the knight trying to get to the dragon and riot it? Are the guards going to rush forward and block you from getting to the dragon? I want to know a little more like that. Cool. We also get 4 party monster character sheet portrait frames. And then, Shawn, we got to talk about those really cool monsters, because I looked at these monsters. It was the first thing I looked at. I'm like, oh, these are really good. And then what do I learn?
Yeah, I helped design them. So obviously a team effort. But great team there. Loving getting the chance to start working on drops. And my first foray into that were these monsters. And they were meant to have a horror theme, like Ravenloft, but not necessarily be set in Ravenloft. And so we noodled on, what would these angels, who are not necessarily the good celestials that you often think of. So we came up with the Angel of Death, which is a CR 14 neutral celestial, an Angel of Obsession, a CR 6 lawful evil celestial, an Angel of Slaughter, a CR 25 neutral evil celestial, and the Angel of Vengeance, a CR9 chaotic evil celestial.
They're all really good, Shawn. Hats off to you and the team. The design of them really tells the story through their actions really nicely of what they represent, what they're doing. The CR25, I mean, that's only the second CR25 monster in the game. So it's really cool to see the Angel of Slaughter come in. But they all were really interesting. The art's really nice too. Very, very cool. I think those monsters alone were just like, hey, I'm really happy this month with what's here. But if you have been on the fence about drops, there are changes coming to the program.
This is true. We heard from Brian Perry, who is one of the leaders on the D&D Beyond team. And he wrote this blog post to discuss the initial drops offering and an upcoming changes. And he says, and I'm quoting here, "We made the business decision to not make drops content eligible for master tier content sharing. It's clear that was not the right decision, and we need to find a way to give master tier subscribers the ability to share content share drops. We have been taking another look and expect to have an update on the feasibility of content sharing in the next few weeks. We didn't tell players about any way in which they could get DDB drops content without having a subscription. While this was a possibility we had discussed internally, we made the wrong choice at rollout not to commit to anything yet. I'm here to correct that today. We will commit to releasing at least yearly D&D Beyond drops bundles on the D&D Beyond marketplace every year in May, covering the previous year's content and purchasable for all players. We have ways to further augment this with player feedback. For now, I wanted to make that baseline commitment clear, and stay tuned for updates.
I thought that was really interesting. I have a number of thoughts on this. One is they are very good about soliciting feedback. I got a poll sent to me, or that I got to fill out and answer questions about what I liked and didn't like and rate things. So that they're looking at that really carefully, which I think is great. I feel like the issue I have with this is at some point they made a business decision of what drops is. And that had to be around some models of income. And so I just curious what this does to those models. And I don't know, I didn't love the original plan necessarily, but now you may have mismatched expectations up top of, because you've elevated your costs, right? There's a lot going on to make these awesome content. And I think it's neat to make things like this, but somehow you have to validate that. And so I hope that they find the way to do that without raising prices, which would be the sort of obvious thing other companies would do, is give you more, then make you pay for it, right? So I hope they find a way to not do that, because I think one of the amazing things is D&D Beyond as a low and relatively low, high value entry point can just be a great way to spread that benefit. And so I think this is all really good stuff that's being done, good energy, but hopefully it just works in and of itself rather than requiring something else on the business side.
For sure. We get Taroka deck and counter creation ideas. So on D&D Beyond, David Baker posts on how to use the Taroka deck as an adventure idea generator. So if you go to D&D Beyond, you can check out this neat post called Deadly Destiny, the Taroka deck as an encounter builder. So you can check that out. We have more news about Kickstarters and crowdfunding, as we have a new champion at the top of the crowdfunding mountain. Neon Odyssey has closed at the top of the heap. So congratulations to the Legends of Evantris team. They brought in $16 million from 49,115 backers. This is now the #1 biggest crowdfunder in tabletop role-playing games, squeaking past the $15 million Kickstarter that we got from Cosmere.
Our friend Scipio compared the two crowdfunders and saw 60% of Neon Odyssey's revenue came from its top two tiers, which is pretty impressive. An incredible 5.5 thousand people, so 5,500 plus people backed at each of the $495 and $1,000 levels. And that's amazing. Like Cosmere, for example, had a 490 level, something like that. And it had like 250 people backing that, right?
Yeah.
The amount that was brought in from the top is kind of amazing. Now, very few companies can kind of do this, but I think this is going to have a big impact on our hobby. It really does say loudly to everybody what I think most people paying attention knew, which is that K-shaped economy. You can see that in crowdfunders, right? And it doesn't matter whether it's mid-tier companies or larger or companies you may have never heard of. They're starting to figure this out. And if they have the ability to leverage an audience product that, have, like in this case, multiple dice sets, 3 plushies, all sorts of STLs and things, well, then you can possibly do something like this. It's not that it's easy, it's not straightforward, but I think it's going to have a huge impact on our hobby as we see more people try to please the demographic that has a lot to spend. Right?
Mm-hmm. Very, very true. So we will keep an eye on the rollout of that Kickstarter as it continues. We have learned that there is a possibility that both Baldur's Gate 1 and Baldur's Gate 2 are going to be remade, according to PC Gamer magazine. PC Gamer also reported that former BioWare developer and Baldur's Gate 2 co-lead designer Kevin Martins is already working on the project. And PC Gamer says Martins has an impressive CV, which includes lead design roles on Jade Empire and Throne of Baal, as well as Baldur's Gate 2. He also worked on Neverwinter Nights and Mass Effect before leaving BioWare to join Blizzard in 2009. Maybe you've heard of Blizzard, where he served as the lead content designer on Diablo 3.
Okay.
Martins has also been working on Exodus, the upcoming sci-fi video game from Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, that's really interesting. We've seen the enhanced editions of these video games come out, but to actually go and really remake it, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. One thing that we shouldn't expect as fans is that it'll feel exactly like Baldur's Gate 3, in that was created on Larian's proprietary engine. So, they can't just use that or port. It's not like it's not as simple as that. They'll have to do their sort of own version of that to decide how they want to make it work. But it's neat. It's smart. What this could also do is hopefully it's a faster project. So you build some excitement, deliver something into fans' hands, get some revenue going on this while you're working on that eventual Baldur's Gate 4. That, this is a smart move. But it's also interesting to see another kind of big name person essentially leave the Exodus team. Like maybe they've done enough, and so now they can focus on something else. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting when I think about the evolution of video games. When I played the Larian's first adventure, first game, I want to say one? Destiny, but
it's like Divinity, right? Divinity,
yes. Mm-hmm. When I saw Divinity, I was like, man, this reminds me of Baldur's Gate, right? So I cannot say for sure, but I have a sneaking suspicion that maybe the people that designed that saw, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, saw how that played and said, oh, let's make a game that is similar to that. Yeah. And now we are going to see maybe Baldur's Gate be remade in the style of Baldur's Gate 3, which was from Larian, which maybe came from Baldur's Gate. So we see the same thing in tabletop role-playing games where people are like, well, they stole that from blank, but that was stolen from a previous game, which was stolen from a previous game. And everything really just goes back to D&D, I think, in the long run.
Yep, it does. I mean, and even D&D goes through that with, 4th edition, you could say has aspects that are like Magic and aspects that are, which of course came from D&D inspiration and so on, and has aspects from video games, which are, so we're at that point where everything's been long enough to self loop around. Shawn, a real quick update on organized play. If you are playing AL or Legends of Greyhawk, go check out D&D Beyond. They've got a web post talking through how Ravenloft: The Horrors Within is being adapted. So if you've got characters and you want to have options, you want to make a new character, head there and it'll show you what you can choose for your characters. The other documents that we usually see that are usually now shared through Discords, those will be updated soon. In related news, the Shieldlands region is run by Unite the Factions and has an inaugural story arc, which is called A Night Bereft in Meeting. And that introduces players to this new Shieldlands region through a connected trilogy of adventures at Fan Expo Canada, premiering on August 27th. The authors are an all-star cast with Gregory Harris, Graham Ward, and Violet Furman. So that sounds like a lot of fun. And they're clearly starting with an A-list design team.
Yeah, Unite the Factions is Canadian, a Canadian group, and they are wonderful designers, wonderful ambassadors to the gaming world, and wonderful folks. So if you ever get up to Canada at any of those conventions that they run, check those out. Shall we quickly jump into our creator corner?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so we have 2 new Greyhawk supplements by Patreon supporter Dave Colson. So Greyhawk fans, pay attention. First of all, Dave is a great creator and a great dungeon master if you've ever played with him. And so a great design mind. And he has these 2 new supplements on the DM's Guild. Ashes of the Old City. It's an urban adventure set in the free city of Greyhawk for levels 1 to 5. And Adventures in Greyhawk Central Phineas. This source book aims to provide details on the setting not found in the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide that includes new player options, a timeline of events, details on the regions of Greyhawk, new monsters, and so much more.
Very cool. Links in our show notes, or go to dmsguild.com and search for those titles.
Yep. And we were almost too lazy to report this, but get ready, because on Kickstarter, the Mike Shea / Sly Flourish Empire will be expanding. A project you can follow is Rise of the Lazy Dungeon Master, Mike's latest book. Oh, sorry, what did I say? Okay, Dungeon Master. I'm so used to saying that.
He could say Dungeon Master, but he chose to go with Game Master. He chose.
So let's try that again. Rise of the Lazy Game Master. His latest book will go live soon. It will be 160 pages of advice for game mastering, 10 adventure scenarios, tons of tips and tables, and more. If you want to be notified when this goes live, you can follow the project on Kickstarter, link in our show notes. Thank you for listening to this first part of Mastering Dungeons. Hang in there for our second part, where we talk about the unboxing of the D&D Encounters package.